Hello, and welcome to this quick little interview segment with Weave St. Louis. My name is Angela Pansella. I'll be your guide this evening, and I'm speaking today with Catherine Kozemchik from the St. Louis Mourning Society. Thank you for joining me today, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me what the Mourning Society is all about.
We are essentially a civilian reenacting group. We like to represent the 19th century with as much historical accuracy as we can, which, it's impossible to be 100% accurate, obviously. Um, but we do educational events where we focus on death and mourning practices. And sometimes we venture a little outside of that and talk about the spiritualism movement and other sort of fringe topics from the 19th century and their culture and how they dealt with death and how it's different than we do today.
How long has the Mourning Society been around, and how did it get its start?
We started, a few of us were working at historic homes in
Hmm.
St. Louis, and we started doing events originally in 2005. So we did many events with just sort of a group of people that we collected over the years where people would volunteer or other reenactors that we knew.
Hmm.
And then in 2015, that was the year we officially formed the group and we started doing this event at Bell Fountain. That was our first event as the Mourning Society. But we kind of all know each other just from various historic homes in St. Louis or various reenacting groups, and we all sort of came together from that. And other people have joined the group since we started as well.
Were you there from the start, or you were a later arrival?
Yes, I was at the start.
Okay, okay. And then the event that we're talking about is Constellations of Memory, which is happening on October 12th at Bell Fountain Cemetery. Um, so tell me a bit about what folks might expect when they come to see that.
Well, we have many people that will be dressed 1860s.
Hmm.
And as you arrive, you'll have a guide that will take you to a short walking tour. We'll have a few stops in the section of the cemetery that's near the chapel. And each person will be talking about a different element about death or mourning or even things that were happening in St. Louis at the time. We do it a little bit different every year. One year we covered the cholera epidemic in St. Louis in 1865. So people would talk about the events that were happening at the time and about the disease. So it just depends on the focus of the tour, like what the tour guides will talk about. But there's three little stops that you'll have like an interpreter who will tell you, educate you about the topic. And then we have one stop in front of the chapel where you'll meet the widow and the widower, and they'll talk about, the cultural implications of what happened when your spouse died and what you were expected to do and all the rules and things like that. And then we take the whole group into the chapel where we reenact, I would say, a truncated version of a 19th century funeral service because they were really long then, and we don't want to keep everyone there for 6 hours. So um, we usually try to incorporate a lot of period accurate items, as many as we can, with because sometimes it's not safe to have those items out in the world. But we have a 19th century hearse that's there parked outside of the chapel. We have period coffins, unused, that we carry it. So usually what will happen is the pallbearers will carry the coffin into the chapel. We'll do a service, and then they'll process with the coffin outside to the burial site, and the group will follow them out. And then we do a small graveside service, and then that wraps up the tour. We do just like a short wrap up and questions, and then the tour is over. And then people are free to, of course, see the rest of the cemetery because we only cover a very small portion of it. And of course, there's a lot to see there.
Sure, sure. So over time that you've been doing this, what sort of um, surprises or insights about the 19th century have you gotten out of this experience?
Well, I think that people have this perception that mourning was something that was forced on women
Mm.
um, at the time as like a cultural norm that you were expected to do. But I think it was a personal choice, but also it was something that they chose to do to keep themselves. Sometimes you want to be isolated. If you were going out in the world and you were wearing mourning, like people knew that you had that, so they were kinder to you. Like people would do things for you that they might not normally do if you were a person who was not in mourning. So it was like this sort of like be gentle with me kind of symbol that everyone
Mm,
accepted. And
mm,
then also you were honoring the person that you had lost. And so some women stayed in mourning well long outside of the normal, terms of how long society expected you to because they felt they were honoring their spouse that had died. So
sure, sure.
I think it's something it's hard for us to understand now because we have this culture of like you get 3 bereavement days and then you move on with your life. And
Yeah.
then they could take all of that time. They took the time that they needed as long as you were a person of means and could do
Yes.
that. Not everybody had the ability to do that, of course,
Sure.
but even people who were not of means would still sometimes wear black. They would just dye their clothing. It didn't
Mhm.
have to be ostentatious in
Yeah.
order for it to be mourning.
Mhm.
So they did it out of respect for the person they had lost.
Mhm. Now, you came out of this, as you said, from historical reenactment writ large, right? And
Yes.
so what drew you to that to begin with?
I mean, the clothes are beautiful.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
of course um, but I don't know, I just found the culture of the 19th century really interesting. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And that's one of the things that we try to, you know, we draw people in with this sort of like spooky event, and then we're like, oh, we're going to tell you what really happened and what it was really like. There's a tendency to romanticize it to a degree that, and obviously, there's a line about how sad we can really make it before we're like, this is too much of a downer and we can't do it. But it's, you know, there's a there's this idea that like once something bad happens and it's outside of like cultural memory that
Mhm.
people are kind of more cold about it.
Mm.
And I think we can pull them back into having like compassion for these people even though they're almost like a caricature to them. When they look at these old pictures, they don't think of them as real people.
Right.
And so we tell their real stories and say like, look at this
Mhm.
terrible thing that happened, or this
Mhm.
grief that this person experienced, and they have a connection to the past that they might not have had if they had just you know gone to a regular Halloween event, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, the folks that I've talked to so far through Weave have been very intrigued by it, and we're really looking forward to getting to see what this event that none of us have attended before. So thank you for making this possible and for doing this every year, and looking forward to seeing everybody on the 12th.
all right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.